This is Greg Smith from Alice Cooper, Rainbow, Tokyo Motorfist, Tyketto, and many other bands. You're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast. These guys rock.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, soon to be coming back to downtown Davenport, Iowa. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Greg Smith of Ted Nugent,
Tyketto,
and Tokyo Motorfist,
amongst other past endeavors.
Yeah.
What a great interview.
Yeah, no, it was fun. And
he's a good time, great guy, great conversation, great storyteller.
yeah,
So, hey, let's not waste any time. Let's get on to it.
awesome.
Good night. Greg, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like you to introduce you to my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Yeah,
What's
hey,
up, Jeff? How you doing?
Good, Greg. How's it going tonight?
A little freaking cold where I'm at. I got news for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for us too. Where are you?
I'm in northeast Pennsylvania, kind of in between where Martin guitars are made in Nazareth and the Pocono Mountains.
Yeah, so you're getting everything that just came through us a couple days ago.
Oh, hell yeah, man. And you know what, man? I have an old farmhouse, and I got an old barn that I turned into a studio. And I actually, quite literally, before getting on the phone with you guys, I just got out here and turned on the heat. So I'm kind of freezing my nuts off right now.
Well, we kind of had a heat wave today. I think it made it to 2 degrees.
Yeah.
So I think...
No kidding.
Yes.
My God, where you guys at?
Rock Island, Molina, Illinois, Quad Cities.
Okay, so yeah, you know what? So you're not even considering my cold.
Yeah.
This is like swimming weather for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, kind of right now it seems like it.
Yeah.
I think it was Sunday, Valentine's Day, we were 20 below. So...
Holy Jesus, man.
Yeah.
You got to love them Midwest winters.
I'd get on a plane south, like
Yeah.
you know, if that happened. Well, you know what? This also reminds me never to really complain about my weather here in Northeast Pennsylvania, because compared to some areas, it's somewhat mild. You know,
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we always kind of wonder what we did to ourselves when we decided to stick around here instead
know.
of relocate.
All my friends thought I was crazy. They all went south or west or. Yeah.
well, you know, you got to figure too. There's the people who went to Phoenix, and I think I firmly believe the first people who ever settled in Phoenix were trying to escape the law, because you know there's nothing there but freaking snakes and scorpions,
Yeah.
and it's the surface of the sun. You know.
All right, let's talk music.
That's awesome.
So, COVID-19 has crippled the music industry. You know, like everybody else does. How have you been dealing with the COVID-19 restrictions?
Well, initially when it first happened, if you remember, it was 2 weeks to slow the spread. Remember?
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody did the 2 weeks. And if I remember correctly, I had just come back from Key West. My sister lives down there. And I hung out with a couple of buddies of mine down there, played a few places, and had an absolute blast. And all of a sudden, while I was down there, the shit started to hit the fan, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember I was getting, you know, Steve Brown from Tokyo Motorfist called me, and we had some gigs going on at some local festivals here in the United States. I think in Atlanta, and I think one of them was the M3, and then all of a sudden, all that went away, you know.
Yes.
And then Nugent's tour went away, and it got really weird, man. It got really weird. But what I initially did was, I remember it was like early March, and luckily it was somewhat kind of warm over here. It was like, I think it was like in the 40s, like high 40s, like 48, 47, 48. And I set up me and a bunch of buddies on my lawn here with a nice view of the mountain, and we just started doing some live streams, you know. And initially I thought it was just going to be a couple of weeks, you know, and just sort of like everybody was stuck at home, and figured, fuck it, man, let's have some fun and you know, let everybody forget about the crap that's going on. And it of course it lasted more than 2 weeks, and we ended up doing it for about like 6 weeks, you know, and there was a lot of really good feedback on it, and it was just us, you know, a bunch of buddies just playing old cover material, 70s rock tunes, and just in basically whatever we knew, you know, together, and it just had a blast. And you know what, man, it made me feel pretty good, because the feedback was like, you know, people from all over the world, man. I swear to God, I mean, I got messages from Pakistan, you know, you know, going like, hey man, this is awesome, thank you so much, we're all stuck at home and this is so cool, and you know, all over Europe. And man, it made me feel good, and it just kind of made me want to continue to do it week after week, you know, until then, you know, at some point in time, then everybody started doing it, and it was just, you know, then it was like, it's not special anymore, you know?
Yeah. What platform were you using?
Man, I just did Facebook Live. Okay. With my stinking phone. You know, yeah. I don't, you know, look, I'm old school, man. I'm older than freaking snot, and I don't really know much about, you know, I know how to record my bass and that kind of stuff for albums and stuff. But as far as other like real technology shit, man, you know what I did? I took an old PA speaker stand, and I put a wood vise on it and duct taped my freaking phone to it. So, you know, that's like PA technology right there, man. Yeah. But it worked, you know.
You know, as that goes, you know, the live stream thing, and now there's all these different platforms to use, and we've talked to several artists now since September that have been trying different styles of platforms to do their live streams on. Do you foresee this kind of being a way of the future, as far as, okay, we're not on the road right now, but what can we do to maybe generate a few dollars for ourselves? Can we do this live stream? Is it lucrative enough for us? How do you kind of foresee this panning out in the future?
Man, I certainly hope not. That's, you know, I hope that doesn't become the thing, because you know, as much as it was kind of, because you know, when I play with my buddies, even sometimes we play like over the summer we did a bunch of live stuff, outdoor shit, and you know, we had some crowds, and you know what, man, I thrive on a crowd. You know what I mean? You can relate to a crowd, you can interact with a crowd, but it was really hard to kind of look at that phone and make believe there were, you know, like a couple of thousand people out there. You know what I mean? Because there actually was, you know, and it was kind of weird, but I just kind of had to put myself in that headspace, and it was kind of difficult, man. You know, when I got people in front of me, man, we're all having fun together, man. We're all in the same place. We're enjoying ourselves. We're listening to rock and roll. I'm enjoying the rock and roll just as much as they are, you know. So it's easy, you know. But I hope that doesn't. I hope that's not the norm, man. I'm really hoping that shit gets back to normal this year, or at least, you know. At the very least, like the foot in the freaking water, the toe in the water about getting normal, man. You know what I mean? Because I know people are dying to go to rock concerts, man. I'm dying to play rock concerts, you know? People are dying to go to them, man. And, you know, we just got to get back to it again, man, you know? And, you know, that ain't political or anything like that. It's just, oh, my God, we're all done with this, man. It's just, you know, we got to get back to normal.
Yeah.
You know?
I would hope that they'd be able to come out with some kind of, you know, outdoor, you know, venues or something first to start with.
Yeah, man. And, you know, the summertime, hopefully, you know, it's coming up, you know, soon. And I did a bunch of that even last year during the COVID thing. I did a bunch of outdoor gigs that, everybody really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the crap out of it. And, just people need it, man. It just keeps everybody sane, man. Music is the great, great equalizer. It doesn't matter whether anybody is, what religion you are, whether you're a Republican or Democrat or anything like that. Everybody loves music, man. And it brings us together, man, and probably I think we need more of that right now to keep us together. You know?
Absolutely. Now I asked John the same question, and maybe you can shed some light on it. The industry, as far as playing live shows goes, was suffering before COVID. People are just not coming out to shows like they used to because of, hey, they have Netflix, they have the internet, they have whatever.
Yeah.
But do you feel as though that after the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted and we have our freedom back, do you feel that there might be a renaissance for live performances and rock and roll in general? How do you feel about that?
I definitely do. I mean, just judging from what I've seen, like I said, even playing, where I live in Pennsylvania, I'm right on the Delaware River, and there's a couple of buddies of mine that own places on the river where I played. And, man, just seeing the people come out and just enjoying themselves and listening to music and stuff. And I really do feel that, once the restrictions are lifted, that I really believe there will be a renaissance, and maybe people who might have decided, I'll catch them next time, will go out and take the bull by the horns and really just go see that music they want to see,
Absolutely. Well, since we're talking about Renaissance, Renaissance Rock Orchestra, which you're a part of, released the Universal Dance. Can you talk a little bit more about the origins of the band? And is this of a project? Is this going to be like a full-time band? How's it going to work out for you?
Well, I've known Greg Fox for quite some time. A good buddy of mine, Mikey Bones, who passed away a couple of years ago, we grew up together in Long Island, and he was the bass player in that band. And, since we were so close, and that obviously situation was open, Greg asked me to step in and do it, and I was more than happy to cover my buddy Mikey's part. And the music, I love the music. It was just so much fun to be part of it. And everything due to COVID, everybody did their parts at home, and it was really fun to just listen to the music and delve into it. And there was one tune in particular that Greg sent me, an old track that Mike had started playing on, and I just kind of took his idea and expanded on it, and basically as a tribute to him. And to be honest with you, his widow gave me his Music Man Stingray bass, and I used that bass on pretty much most of the album.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Jeff, you
and whether or not I certainly hope we get to do some playing and go forward. That obviously remains to be seen, but I am 100% down for it, and would like to be as much a part of it as they would like me to be.
Oh, so fantastic. Yeah. Will your fans expect a full-length album from Renaissance Rock Orchestra? How is this going to kind of work out? Will you release singles at a time? Is this going to be maybe, hey, a 5-song EP? Obviously the way music is released in the now is totally different how it was released, 10, 20 years ago. Yeah. And what are you a fan of as far as releasing new material? How do you foresee this working out for you? Like one single at a time, a 5-song EP, 12 songs?
Man, that's an interesting question because it's something I really haven't thought much about, to be honest with you. Whatever project I'm involved with, like this is pretty much Greg's, situation. So whatever he decides to do, I'm totally cool with. I'll be honest with you, whenever he releases shit, I'm listening to it just like you guys or anybody else is going like, well, that's cool. Let me crank it up on my fucking system, see what it sounds like, when he first started putting this shit out there, I was like, dude, send me the mixes. I don't even have them yet, man. Come on, man. I'm getting little bits and pieces here, but yeah, man, I would hope that because I'm old school, man, I would hope that would be released as a somewhat album or something like that, Mm-hmm. I would hope. But I don't really know exactly how he plans on releasing it once it's all said and done. I mean, it all is all said and it's all recorded. It's all done, but I don't really know. I don't even know the best way to do that kind of stuff in this day and age, because everything's so weird and crazy at this point, man,
Yeah, absolutely. And we were discussing this last week with a guest, and it almost seems like with the way things are going, and if you want to take COVID in the situation or out of the situation, it seems like music is being released like from the past, like releasing a single on a 45 or
right.
At a time. It seems like we're going backwards instead of going frontwards. Like album-oriented rock is not necessarily the sign of the times. It seems like 45s are like coming back in style again as far as methodology.
And 45s with no B-sides.
Yeah, with no B-sides.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. 100% right, man.
And
it's weird, man. It's totally weird.
And what are your thoughts on that as far as just that methodology in general? I mean, I know you said you're old school as far as you love the album concept, the full length album.
Man, well, I grew up in the as a kid in the 70s, and I used to save my lunch money to go buy records and stuff, and to me, like, saving that money and buying that record, and of course back then the only time you ever saw a band was either in concert or maybe like on the midnight special on Fridays or Don Kirshner's rock concert on Saturday. And man, if your favorite band came on, wow, big bonus. I remember being blown away when I saw Black Sabbath on there. It was like, holy shit, Black Sabbath. Usually I'm used to watching like Pablo Cruz or something, and Black Sabbath is on. Holy shit, it's like my favorite band, And that was the only time. And I used to just like sit and listen to that album and look at the pictures and on the album covers and read the lyrics and just like visualize, because you get to use your imagination,
exactly.
Back then. As to what you think that band's going to be like, and when you finally do get to see them, it's like it's so exciting, That's gone, unfortunately,
It is,
definitely.
And as you say that, I guess a question would be, the mystery of rock and roll is gone. There used to be that aura of mystery behind Zeppelin and Kiss, and even Ted Nugent in his younger days. And with social media being what it is now, we know what you guys are having for dinner and what time you go to bed.
Pretty much, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
and here's the negative is that we lose the mystery of rock and roll. But on the flip side, we get the accessibility. And if I didn't have the accessibility, I would have never been able to contact you to do this interview. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But as far as the artistry for you, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the mystery or do you prefer the accessibility?
Man, since I've been most of my career, well, pretty much all of my career, I've been kind of like a sideman, what you'd call a sideman. I guess without that, internet and, all that stuff, I might not be as well known as not that I'm like, well known, fucking like, of John Paul Jones or anything like that. But, I think probably more people know who I am than might have otherwise, So I guess it kind of works for me, but, man, I do, as a fan, I miss that, mystery, as a professional musician, I embrace it because it helps me out.
Sure.
But, as a fan, I kind of miss that, mystery.
And as you say that, it's kind of funny. When you were talking about looking at the albums, I remember when I was a kid going through my dad's album collection and opening up his Grand Funk Railroad, Mel Don and Mark's album, and you unfold it, and it's got all the newspaper clippings on the album sleeve. And I read every little newspaper clipping that was pressed on that album sleeve, and it really felt
How cool is that?
It was, and it really felt like it was the band was kind of a mystery. They toured with Zeppelin. They were Zeppelin's opening act. Some nights they blew Zeppelin off the stage, and you read articles about it, but you never really visually saw it. You only just imagined it. And so, I even though I love doing the podcast, I mean it's Jeff and I's passion.
Yeah.
I do miss that, man. what are these guys really like? And now we know that you guys go grocery shopping like everybody else does.
Right. Yeah. And then you know what? Like when you finally, you look at those pictures of them, man, and go like, fuck, that guy's cool, man. Look at him. Holy shit. Yeah. I remember like playing with Blue Oyster Cult, right? Now, when I was a kid, I loved Blue Oyster Cult, man. I'd look at those albums and there's Eric Bloom, man, with that afro and those glasses and that SG guitar. And I'd be like, fuck, that guy's fucking cool, man. And then like I ended up playing with him, and then he was like this freaking old curmudgeon. I was like, dude, you're killing it, man. You're fucking totally killing. I thought you were the coolest guy in the world. You're being a curmudgeon. Cut it out.
What was a real eye opener for me was I have a friend that lives down in Austin, and he was at the grocery store, and whatever grocery store was in Austin or whatever else, and he sent me a message. He's like, dude, Robert Plant is here. He's grocery shopping right now. And I said, oh, bull crap. He's not there. He's like, bet. So he gets his phone out and he records it. And Robert Plant is like, has a hooded sweatshirt on, and he's got the hood over the top of his, so nobody would see him. He's got glasses on, and they kind of walk by each other in the aisle. And by God, it was Robert Plant grocery shopping at a grocery store in Austin, Texas. So
pretty badass, man, right?
It was badass, but I was kind of bummed out. I was like, dude, this guy grocery shops. What in the world's going on?
I got news for you. He actually takes shits too.
All right. Well, hey, it wouldn't be.
I mean, a little dove doesn't come and take it away.
Classic.
Yeah. So you alluded to Tokyo Motor Fist as a project. Is that one you're currently in?
Yeah. Well, we actually had a bunch of stuff supposed to happen, like I mentioned, and then we even had like imagine that, a tour of Japan, Tokyo Motor Fist, in the works. But of course, then the world exploded, and that didn't go down. I'm hoping that will happen again sometime in the not too distant future. We'll see. I certainly hope so.
You've also been involved with Tyketto since 2017. How challenging has it been for you to balance work with Tyketto, Tokyo Motor Fist, and obviously your tour with Nugent? How does this all work for you? I mean, this has got to be a really a real balancing act for you.
I love it. I love a challenge, man. So, and you know what? It all seems to, for the most part, have worked out where one band really hasn't worked while the other one has. So like when Nugent is touring, there's no Tokyo Motor Fist gigs or Tyketto gigs, and vice versa. So it's all sort of worked out kind of that way. I love playing with Tyketto, man. You know what's really interesting? A funny story. Now, I've known Danny since about 1982. We actually played in a band together with Rick Ventura of Riot. You know the band Riot, the old school band Riot. Mm-hmm. We had a band together like 82, and we were rehearsing we did a bunch of rehearsals, wrote a bunch of songs, and of course, back in 1982, there's no internet or cell phones, so. We would have I think it was every Tuesday was a rehearsal or something. And then all of a sudden, Danny didn't show up to rehearsal. I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on. Let's call Danny. Well, no answer. Call him a couple of days in a row. No answer. Call him like a few days later. No answer. Next week, he didn't show up for rehearsal. We're like, oh, shit. Oh, well, I guess he quit the band, So I ran into Danny on the Monsters of Rock cruise. I was actually playing with Ted Poley. Ted needed a bass player last minute, and I helped him out, because he's a bud. Mm-hmm. And I ran into Danny, and it was the first time since like 1982. I was like, Danny. He's like, Greg, oh my God, it's good to see you. Oh my God, how you been? This and that. I kept up. I know you've been playing with so and so and so and so. And I said, hey, so I guess you quit the band. And we had a good laugh about it, and we reconnected. And then when Tyketto needed a bass player, he called me, and I was like, fuck yeah, you kidding me? I would love to do it. And it's been nothing but fun, man. You know what? I forgot what a good fucking band that is, and such really good old school rock and roll songs, man. And it's been nothing but fun. I love all the guys. They're all top notch players. I just love the material. I love the songs. So yeah, man, it's been nothing but fun playing with those guys, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
You know what amazes me about Tyketto is that, like you said, the music is fantastic. The musicianship is out of this world, and it just never ceases to amaze. Like, why isn't this band huge in the United States?
Yeah,
I mean,
yep.
What is the story behind that band? Because they are so good that they should have been playing 10,000 seaters in the States.
Absolutely. Well, I agree 100%. I really don't know. For some reason, it just never hit here. I don't have the answer to that question. But you know what? Get back to that Monsters of Rock thing. I remember hanging out with my buddy Paul. Now, Paul plays drums with Ted Poley's band. And we saw Tyketto. It was the first time I'd seen them since like the 80s, you know? Mm-hmm. And I remember like watching them, and the band was so tight and so good. And Danny is just a force of nature, man. And I turned to Paul and I said, fuck, I'd love to play in a band like that. Well, 2 years later, you know, so that was pretty cool. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. So we got to ask you about this story that John Levin gave us before.
Okay.
So he was telling us about you guys were in a band together on Long Island back in the day. Uh-huh. And the story goes is, I think John was 16 and you were 21 or something like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you were Jeff, was this right? They were supposed to go to a show.
Well, he said he used to go see you play live in a band called Syntron.
Yes.
Wow. Gosh, that's going way back. Yeah.
And he was supposed to come see. They were supposed to come see you play? Is that how it worked? How did that? How to say?
I think so.
And then they didn't let John in, but the rest of his band that went to go see you got into the show.
Yeah,
and
I think he had to sit in the car.
He had to sit in the car for 3 hours, and he.
Well, that's pretty funny. Well, you know what? I'll tell you the story about the very first time I ever met John, and it was a friend of mine rented a house in a town called West Hempstead, and it was New Year's Eve. And I went there with my girlfriend. I was playing with this band, Syntron, in Long Island. They were like one of the more popular bands in Long Island. We used to we do double bills with Twisted Sister and Zebra and all those bands, back then. And I was about 21, I guess, or 19 or something, and so I remember like going to this buddy's house, and in his basement he had like a jam set up. He was a drummer, and he thought he was a drummer. He, but he owned a pair of drumsticks. Let's just call it that, And anyway, I'm upstairs having a couple of beers, hanging out with my girlfriend. And all of a sudden, I hear this guitar player from downstairs that is just absolutely killing. And I walk downstairs, and there's John Levin, this little kid at the time, a teenager, and I'm like, oh my God, wow. And so they finished playing, and I was like, man, you're an amazing player. And he's like, oh, thank you so much. I was like, come on, let's go up and have a beer. He goes, oh, no, I can't do that. I said, why not? He goes, my mom's picking me up at midnight. She'll kill me.
That's awesome.
And you know what? When we had this band together called Devious, it was all our own material, and the only two covers we played were two Dokken songs. Just Got Lucky and Alone Again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so now fast forward many years later, both of us are playing in Dokken together.
Yeah.
And we're looking at each other from across the side of the stage going, can you believe this shit?
That's awesome.
I wanted to kind of touch upon the rock scene. What was the rock scene in Long Island? I know it was a vibrant scene. We hear stories from other artists from out in the East Coast. And even when we talk to other artists in the New York City scene from back in the day and how it's dried up and there's no rock and roll scene in New York City, what is the music scene like in Long Island? Is it the rock scene? Is there anything happening anymore out that way?
Now, man, I don't think so at all. I think there's a handful of clubs, but I don't play there anymore. I mean, I live in Pennsylvania now,
right?
And honestly, if there was a rock scene like that was halfway decent, I'd be going back there.
Sure.
I think they're probably still trying to pay the musicians like the same $100 that they paid like 30 years ago. I as far as I know, the guys who are there are like it's a rough deal because it's expensive to live in Long Island.
Right.
And if you're a musician, as your main source of income out there, it's got to be more than rough.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But back in the old days, it was just, and you know what? The Long Island club scene in the late 70s and 80s was just iconic, man. And I got there, from 79. Like I started in 79 playing, the local club scene. And so I got there like really kind of at its peak and played there, for about 4 or 5 years, about 4 years till I got into Wendy O's band, and then I started touring and stuff, So, but man, it was really cool. You can make like decent money. I was working 4 or 5 nights a week. Every band had their own PA system, their own light show, road crew, our own truck, and you'd play, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, upstate New York. It was really cool. It was really cool.
And that's so amazing because we hear stories. Obviously, we're Midwest. We're not too far away from Chicago. I back when I was in high school, the trips to go to Chicago to go to some of the punk rock shows in Chicago were just phenomenal. And we hear the stories of the rock, the rock shows, concerts on the East Coast, the punk rock shows at CBGB's. Obviously the Sunset Boulevard stuff in LA. You hear about all this stuff, and it's just at the time when I was in my 16, 17, 18 years old kid, this stuff is never going to die. It's going to be here forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just when you saw stuff like the CBs fall off the face of the earth, and it was kind of like this trickle down effect. It was like, with the COVID-19 thing happening, it almost makes you wonder. Is like, okay, are we going to go through a reset now? Is this where people are going to appreciate going? Like we talked about at the beginning of this interview. Is this the reset now? Is this what it's going to take to get the East Coast to come alive again? The West Coast, bring Chicago back, bring Detroit back. You know what I mean? Are you kind of feeling where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, man, I definitely think people are more than ready to get out and see music and I firmly believe there's going to be a resurgence. I certainly hope so. But you mentioned CBGB's a couple of times, and I played there so many times in my life. Growing up in Long Island, where I lived in pretty much the first part of Long Island as you come in from New York City to Long Island. Mm-hmm. So New York City was 20 minutes from me. So I used to be, if I wasn't playing at CBGB's, I'd be hanging out there and CB's it's so funny that place has become such an iconic place. And granted, a lot of bands started there and that makes it iconic, but man, the place was a shithole.
I've heard that.
Everybody says that. Yeah. Everybody.
And you know what? It's funny when I talk to people, they go, "Yeah, but the PA was great." I go, "Then you were never there," because the PA sucked. There was always a fucking blown speaker, It was awful, man. It was fucking awful. And then, God forbid, you had to go to the bathroom, man. That's why I'll never get COVID, because I actually took a piss in that fucking bathroom.
Yeah.
What was it about CB's that made it what it was? I mean, we know the Police played there. We know Talking Heads. We could just go down the laundry list. But what was that driving force to bands to come to CB's to actually play there? Obviously, you say it was a shithole,
Well, I think it was like for bands that were a little bit different, they could get a gig, mm-hmm. and there were going to be people there because it was the Village. Well, yeah, it's kind of the Village, I guess, kind of the end of the Village. But people were going to be there. People were going to hang out. You get a crowd, and people would see your music. So I guess that's what it was. It just had its moment, whatever that moment was. You know what I mean? People flocked there at that time, and I guess the more new and different and cool shit that started playing there, more and more people, the word of mouth and the buzz showed up, and it was like, oh man, you got to check out this band, the Ramones or Blondie or Talking Heads and shit, and and next thing you know, the label guys started hanging out there and signing these bands, and and then boom, instant, like, iconic place,
Yeah.
even though it was a shithole.
With that being said, I know that you probably played at Lemoore as well, correct?
Oh God, yeah. I actually met my wife at Lemoore East in Queens,
Cool.
in 1983.
How can you kind of compare it in contrast? For us Midwesterners that we go to Chicago, that's going to downtown Chicago to go see a show. How do you compare those two clubs? If you would compare them.
Which one, Lemoore in Brooklyn or Lemoore East in Queens?
Whichever one in CB's, because like I said, we've never been to either. So.
Yeah. See, by the time Lemoore started around, now Lemoore used to be a disco,
Mm-hmm.
and actually in 1982 when I was playing with that band Syntron, they decided to start doing a Wednesday rock night, and I believe Syntron was the very first band to do the rock nights on a Wednesday. And from there, it just turned out like, they started getting more bands, and, I guess the rock stuff started making more money than the disco stuff. And then they expanded the place, and it became really big, and the stage moved to the other side, and it became this big, iconic, rock venue that just totally kicked ass, So, I mean, it was totally different. CB's was kind of small in comparison, CB's wasn't a very big venue at all. It was kind of small,
Mm-hmm.
Like if you saw it, I don't know what it's kind of interesting because I don't know what your in your head what you think it might have looked like, or if you've seen pictures of it, know.
Yes, we've seen plenty of pictures of it, but you can see all the pictures that you want until you're in a venue. You really don't know,
Yeah, it really wasn't that big, man. It was kind of small and nasty and really not set up right, Lemoore, however, was set up really, really well. It held probably a couple thousand people. The stage was awesome. Yeah, man. And it was just, it ended up being like, obviously another in a different way iconic venue. And I played there with, a gazillion bands. Actually, Wendy O. Williams, we did a live album there in November of '84, I believe. And it's still out there. I think it's called Fucking Roll is the name of it instead of Rock and Roll. But, and then they opened up another one in Queens called Lemoore Far East, which is even bigger. And, that's where I ended up meeting my wife, and we've been married now a gazillion years. But, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, man, it was a great place. I mean, I'm thankful that I grew up where I did, because I really have to believe that because where I grew up and the bands that I ended up playing with and the people that I met are why, I've had the gigs that I have. Like, for instance, I wouldn't have been in Wendy O. Williams' band if it weren't for after I left that band Syntron. I was playing with a band called Squadron. We used to play at a place called my father's place in Long Island, and Gene Simmons came to see us. Long story short, Gene Simmons came to see us, liked the way we played together, and he was producing Wendy's album, put us both in the band,
Cool.
And that's how I ended up doing my first tour, at 21.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Jeff, go ahead and take the next one.
I was just going to ask you about the movie Wayne's World. You were a member of the Alice Cooper's band during the performing Feed My Frankenstein.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
How did that come about?
We were doing our tour, the Operation Rock and Roll tour with Alice, Judas Priest, Motorhead, Dangerous Toys, and Metal Church. Mm-hmm. And then there was a break in the tour between the American leg and the European leg. And back then, they'd actually put the equipment on a slow boat. So we'd have to go to Europe on a boat, and you had a couple of weeks, downtime. And then they told us, we're going to do this movie, Wayne's World, and it's a spin-off of something they do on Saturday Night Live. And prior to that, with the exception of the Blues Brothers and stuff like that, all the recent spin-offs from Saturday Night Live had kind of gone in the dumper.
Yeah.
And we were like, nobody's going to see this movie, but hey, we're getting paid, and it's another week in LA in the sun. Cool. Next thing you know, it ends up being the number one movie for 5 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of interesting because I didn't know anything about like residuals or anything. They just put all the shit in front of me to sign. I was a stupid kid in my 20s, you know. I just signed it all, and I mean, I still get mailbox money from it, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
Fantastic.
You know, I mean, it's not quite what it used to be, but it's still, you know, I'll take it. Not going to give it away.
All right, Jeff's got the next question.
Yeah,
here.
so I'm just looking through your list of all, we've touched a couple of the rock bands that you're currently playing with, but just looking through some of your history of, it's not just all rock and roll or heavy metal rock and roll. You've got Tommy James and the Shondells and Alan Parsons and Billy Joel, Glenn Frey.
Yep.
So you're a man of many musical tastes. So just talk to us a little bit about, your various musical styles and influences.
Well, I think a lot of that has to go back to growing up on Long Island, where playing in a lot of cover bands. You got to play a lot of different styles, because there were so many great musicians that, like, if you couldn't play every style, you kind of have to be the chameleon. You know what I mean? Whatever genre the song is going for, you got to kind of own it. Otherwise, there's going to be somebody else who will. And so that taught me a lot, and not only that, being a music fan too, there's a lot of different styles I like as well. Now it's funny, I noticed that in a lot of print it says that I played with Glenn Frey. I never played with Glenn Frey.
Okay.
I don't know how that got mixed up. I would love to have played with him, but I never did. But all the other guys you mentioned, I've played with, like Alan Parsons and Tommy James. I'm still with Tommy James.
Cool.
I've been his bass player for 20 years now.
Oh, fantastic!
Now he doesn't really, he does maybe 20 gigs a year. So like when I'm not working with Ted or this or that, and even if he has gigs when I am working with Ted, there's a guy who takes my place. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. It's just like oldies, it's Moni Moni, Crimson and Clover, Dragon the Line, all that really cool shit,
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I remember one time a few years ago, some woman comes up to me and she goes, "I saw you in 1966," and I went, "No, you didn't."
Yeah.
Like, what do I look that old? Did I forget to moisturize today? What the hell's going on there?
All right, so
yeah, go ahead.
it would behoove us to not talk about your time with the Nuge,
The Ted.
yeah, Uncle Ted, 2007. Outside,
I'll be with him this summer too.
yeah, fantastic. And that's kind of leads into this question. Is I know that Ted is pretty proficient touring in the summertime. So he doesn't interrupt his hunting season, I take it. So
yeah, that's right.
how do you like the intensive touring schedule during the summertime with Ted? I mean, I believe, what do you guys do, like for 3 months straight, or how does it work?
Well, every year it's a little bit different. Last couple of years it's been about 8 weeks or 6 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks. But it's been as long as like 7 months, in the past. But yeah, man, I love it. It's nothing but fun. It's unlike playing with Ted. Now, I want to say it's like not as musically difficult as playing with somebody like Alan Parsons or something like that. But it's got its own challenges in intensity.
Yeah.
You have to play with an intensity that, like, if you can't do it with that intensity, you're not going to do a good job. You have to play with like on 10. Honestly, I blister up in the beginning of the tour. My hands blister up because I play pretty hard generally, but I play a totally different level when I play with Ted. You have to just bring it like you've never brought it before, and it's I love it. It's a blast. And he gets such a kick out of it too. The thing is that, like, 40-something years after he wrote Stranglehold, I'm standing next to him and he's playing that opening riff, and I'm watching him get chills up and down his arm, and I'm going, holy shit, man! If he's that intense and that into it, man, I got to bring 250%. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And and it's really cool. I love it. And he's, you know what, when he gets into it and he's so, like, he looks at you like if we hit a riff together or something like that, he looks at me like we're a bunch of 15-year-olds and shit. And it's just kind of like, it's so freaking cool, man. You know?
Yeah.
I love playing with the guy. He
seems like he'd be a blast.
He's a true friend, and he's so fucking good, man. He really is so good, you know?
And it's amazing to me that, you know, when you see these clickbait articles about great guitar players of this, you know, whatever, the century or whatever, and I don't understand. I know, you know, Ted is outspoken and on politics and what have you, but I mean, why is he not mentioned with the Eddie Van Halens of the world, the Alex Lifesons of the world? It just, I don't understand it, because I've seen you guys play numerous times throughout the years, I just don't understand why critics don't give him the same type of acclaim that they give the other guitars, because he's
well,
right there,
I can only accredit it to the fact that he's outspoken, and maybe not everybody wants to hear that kind of thing. That's the only thing I can think of, because he really is. I mean, shit, man. I've been with him 15 years, and crap, man. It's like the guy gets better every year almost. It's really pretty nuts, man. And his tone is just freaking out of control. I just love playing with the guy, man. I love hanging with him, and I love playing with him. This year I actually, for years he's been asking me to go hunting with him, and I've never been hunting in my life. You know what I mean? I grew up in Long Island. You know what I mean? There's no hunting in Long Island. And this year, because of the COVID thing, normally when hunting season starts, I'm off with another band called the Wizards of Winter. And this year that didn't happen, so I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll go up to Michigan and hang with you, and see what happens. And me, him, and Jason, our drummer, went out, and we all were in different little areas of his property. And don't you know, I'm the only one who got a freaking deer that day. But you know what? He came over, man, and he was like even more excited than I was.
Oh,
he was just like a kid in a candy store. He was so excited that I got a deer.
Was that during bow season?
No, it was rifle season.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
It was like day one. It was like opening day.
And did it hook you? Are you a deer hunter now?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, it was a cool experience. If he asked me to come out again, I'd do it again just to hang with him and have that camaraderie thing. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be sitting in my backyard with a rifle anytime soon.
What's on the horizon for Ted Nugent? Do we got any more music to?
What's funny that you said that. Just today, he sent me, because he'll sit with a guitar and start coming up with riffs and shit like that, and he'll record them on his phone and then send them off to us. And hey, what do you think of that, man? And so yeah, he's constantly writing, and I know he wants to do another record. Obviously, he knows doing a record, he ain't gonna make any freaking money on it, but he just has these songs in him, and he wants to record them, and he wants to do it. And hell, man, I'm in.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So you worked with Alice Cooper for 11 years, and then you worked with Don Dokken shortly after that for another 6 years. Can you compare the differences and similarities of working with both artists? I mean, I know they have to have drastic differences, but they have to have, as far as singer-songwriter stuff goes, they have to have some similarities too, correct?
Alice and Dokken?
Yeah.
And Don?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you probably couldn't have picked two polar opposite guys.
That's what I tried to do.
Yeah. Alice, Alice is, obviously he's been straight for quite some time.
Right.
Alice is, I would say probably what they most have in common is a great sense of humor,
Mm-hmm.
And both being, rock and roll singers.
That's where it ends, huh?
That's about where it ends, really. Right there.
I was hoping you was going to give us like some like really in-depth similarities with you. Like,
No, you know what? I wish I had something for you, but honestly, that would be really cool, though, man. You know, if you had gave me a week to think about it, I would have come up with something really cool. It might not have been true, but you know.
All right, so
you know what? I love them both dearly. They're both great guys. They both have great sense of humors. Alice, man, I tell you, you know, we used to play poker on the back of the bus like every night. You know, he loves playing poker, and I've never been really good at poker, but I'm not really bad at it either. So, like over like a several month tour, I would float like $50 up, $50 down, $50 up. So that's kind of winning, you know.
Right.
You know, but I've seen guys lose their guitars. And he's pretty brutal when it comes to that, man. You know, it's like, oh no, you owe me. You know, but from what I also remember, I believe he gives like all his winnings to the church and all that stuff, to charity and all that. You know, so that's pretty cool. You know. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here right now looking at a trophy that he gave me. There was, I think it might have been the last tour I did with him, where the last week of the tour, for some reason, all the cards were coming my way. And I think I took him personally for about $400. You know, that has nothing to do with being my last tour. But, you know, but he goes to pawn shops every day because he likes to collect old watches and the cool shit that he finds. And he found this trophy. It has a marble base, it has a beer can, and then a hand with a full house on top.
Oh, jeez.
And he gave me what he owed me, and then that trophy. You know?
So cool.
That's cool.
So it's in my studio right now. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, cool.
Pretty cool.
All right. So I got one more question to ask you. And this is kind of like this curveball question I like to give our artists. So 1991, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I saw you with Alice Cooper with the Operation Rock and Roll tour.
Wow!
It was you guys were the middle. I think it was Dangerous Toys, yourself, and Judas Priest, because Motorhead and Metal Church for some reason were not there for that.
Oh, no kidding! Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like I believe it was June something. It was a really hot day in the summertime. Well, anyway, so we get there. Dangerous Toys does their thing. Then Cooper comes on. You guys get out to the stage. You fired it up. And you're in the song. I can't remember what song it was. Maybe it was "Hey Stupid" or something like that. And you guys blow a breaker, and the music ends. And Alice is up there trying to sing into nothing. Do you remember that happening? I mean, it was epic, and the look on all you guys' faces. I believe was Vinnie Moore the guitar player for that.
Vinnie Moore would have been the guitar player back then, yeah.
And I saw you. I think the funniest thing was I remember Alice is looking out at the crowd like, where's my music at? And I saw that you and Vinnie Moore both looked at across the stage from each other, like, put your hands out there. What happened to our sound? It's gone. But you blew a breaker or something. Do you remember that happening?
I actually don't know. No, I do remember Cedar Rapids because isn't there like, or didn't there used to be like a Quaker Oats thing there, like a Quaker Oats factory or plant or something there?
There's a plant there.
Yeah, it was right across. I remember looking out my hotel room window and seeing that. That's what I remember about Cedar Rapids. I don't remember that happening, though, man. And I also don't remember Motorhead not being there either.
Yeah, nor Metal Church was there either. Some reason,
it might have been a bus thing or something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, God, that was a long time ago, man, you know?
Come on, man. It wasn't that. You're making me feel old, man. It wasn't that long ago.
You know what I do remember from that? I mean, I remember a lot from that tour, but I remember most nights after the show was over, the hang was on Lemmy's bus, you know? It was usually me, KK Downing, and Ian Hill, and Lemmy in the back of the Motorhead bus, just hanging out, drinking beers and bullshit, and, you know?
Oh, so cool!
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was some fun times, man. There was another. I do remember another time that I think it was Washington D.C. or something like that, where all of a sudden Motorhead isn't on the bill, and I'm like, what the fuck? What happened to Motorhead? And Lemmy broke his ribs, man. Oh shit! Oh, no. So the next gig, which I think was Philly, I see Lemmy. I'm like, Lemmy, what happened, man? He goes, I was watching you son of a bitch. Turns out he was on the side of the stage during Alice's set, and he jumped up onto the monitor, which is in the monitor world, like it's like the reference monitor for the monitor engineer.
Yeah.
And then he fell off of it and landed on his ribs and broke his fucking ribs.
Oh no!
And he's like, watching you son of a bitch.
Well, I got to tell you, you kind of disappoint me a little bit. You can remember the Quaker Oats factory that you looked out your window, but you can't remember blowing a circuit breaker.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I do remember the Quaker, because I like my Quaker Oats. So,
Oh, fantastic. Well, hey, we are out of our allotted time. And
all right, man.
You have been you've been fantastic. Is there anything that we did not cover for promotion or anything that you'd like to plug before we let you go for the evening?
No, man, I think we covered it all, and we certainly had a good time. It's been great talking to you guys, man. Thanks for having me.
Fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
It's been a lot of fun.
You've been great, and this is how it's going to work. We have about 3 interviews to release before yours, so we're looking at about 2.5 weeks. As soon as Jeff, our editing wizard, has got it all put together for you, we'll send it to you immediately. And if you could share it on your socials, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Take care of yourself, and I'll be in touch with you in about 2.5, 3 weeks. That sound good?
Sounds great. Nice talking to you guys,
Take
man.
care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
days.